What's up, guys? Welcome back to this video series in which I list and describe the 35 conditions that you must meet if you want to be my bitch. I mean no disrespect by saying bitch. I mean just lady, female, who I adore and respect. I'd say that I respect all women, but I don't, because I don't respect all people. You know, I think respect is something that is earned on a case-by-case basis upon meeting and getting to know someone and growing a preference for them over time as your relationship blossoms, you know? Respect isn't something that just comes for free, you know? Respect is something you gain over time and that you earn for yourself as well. It goes both ways, you know? So that's one of the underlying things that should be present in your mind as you watch and listen to these lectures that I'm giving you right now on my preferences in a partner, because I do respect people who are worthy of my respect, and I hope that people who are worthy of my respect also respect me, and I take steps to earn that respect in the cases that I think it's worth it. But that doesn't mean that I give a fuck, you know, about what people think. It's just that to cultivate relationships, whether it's romantic or friendships or professional relationships or otherwise, respect is a very important thing, right? So one thing that we should respect in our partners, and that I want to respect in my potential mate, if that ever happens, is that I respect them for who they actually are, that they're a sincere, genuine, authentic person. And I always do my best to be that person for other people, so they can kind of take me or leave me. Now, on that note, people are largely as they are from birth. How you are is 80% nature, 20% nurture on average. You can test this through, you know, your Big 5 traits. I've taken the assessment, and it does show that people are unique on some fundamental level, and in the ways there are, you know, layers of conditioning that are layered on top of that starting point that's deeply embedded in your biology and your psychology, etc., your inheritance. But those things can, through therapy and through new experiences, be peeled back. So that you can discover the core of who you are. And I think psychedelic drugs are one way to do that, to discover that. Anyway, this episode, 16 through 20, this is going to be more one of the more objective sets of conditions that I have. It's a little more red pill. It's a little more true on a psychological and scientific level. Now, I am going to be putting them in a context that relates to my experience and what I prefer subjectively, but I think there's more to be learned in this one objectively than maybe in some of the other ones where I talk about like I like my woman to like fucking wear a thong. I don't want to see granny panties when I pull the jeans off, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, without further ado, 16, someone who is socially mature. This is a problem I've had in a few relationships where I was my partner's best and, in some cases, only friend. That is not good. Good girl who I would like has good non-toxic female friends, but she's also interested in interaction with guys, because that shows a level of openness. Because guys are typically more interested in talking about objective things exterior to themselves, such as philosophy, cars, women, shit like that. We like to shoot the shit and throw around ideas and test theories against one another's opinions. Women don't do that as much. When they talk from a more self-centered point of view. So it's important for me that a woman who I'm interested in be well aware of the problems of female interaction and knows how to avoid toxic friendships, and that shows that she's a good judge of character and that she is a good character herself. I'd go as far as to say that I wouldn't mind if my lady had maybe a few guy friends who she has not had sex with or would not have sex with, guys who she can be friends with and she keeps around because she enjoys their company. She enjoys open conversation that you typically don't get in female interaction. That also shows maturity, to be able to maybe resist the urge to pursue something romantic or sexual with what maybe should be a platonic relationship with someone who you're really only compatible with as a friend, And I do know girls like that. Not many, because it still remains, up in the air as to whether or not guys and girls can be truly friends. I think on some level, we are always sizing each other up and considering each other as options, even in friend contexts. But it's how you act and the sorts of things that you resist doing that can, say just as much about you as, what you do. Anyway, don't want to go too far off on a tangent. Let's go to 17, mind mate criteria. This is very important to me. Look, I've taken the Big 5. I'm 99th percentile or above in openness. So I need somebody who's at least very open, like 80% or above, who's not going to be completely exhausted by my tendency to explore ideas to their greatest depths and greatest breadths possible. Somebody who might not hate my YouTube videos, someone who doesn't hate my writing or my philosophy thesis, So my mind mate criteria is important. It shows intellectual openness, creativity in some cases, and hey, look, I'm about to be a philosophy teacher at a community college in a few months. Maybe if my partner has a little professor fetish, that could work. 18, humor. This is something, look, I might not be super funny on my YouTube channel, but among my friends, I am one of the funnier ones, and I am known for that among people who know me well, for my humor, my dark, inappropriate, relentless sense of humor that takes no prisoners, and is very politically incorrect. Look, I enjoy my humor. Not everyone does, and that's fine. Not everyone I'm close to does. But the people who are closest to me, who I've kept around as friends, appreciate it and respect me for it. And I, in turn, like their humor as well. And I like converging with theirs and creating humorous things out of nothing. So this is something that I have kind of put on the back burner in some relationships. I've kind of treated as a yellow flag. Like, I always knew that my humor was pretty important, but in the context of a relationship, I didn't know how important it really was. So I sort of, I tested it in certain relationships. And my humor in some cases caused a little bit of annoyance on the other side and eventual eye rolling, which is not a good thing because eye rolling is statistically proven to be the first indicator of divorce. Although I wasn't, and that relates to breakups too, I would say, or at least, in committed relationships that resemble marriage. Because that's what a committed relationship is. It's it's a pseudo marriage. It's a marriage it's a marriage in the definitive sense, without all of the legal commitment, right? So it is important for someone, at least for me, for someone to enjoy my humor, not only tolerate it, but enjoy it. If you simply tolerate my humor, you will grow annoyed by it at some point because I am fucking ruthless and I'm not going to stop. And you kind of need to be able to take a bit of comedic abuse as well. You kind of need to be okay with being the butt end of a joke sometimes. But it has to be said, I mean no disrespect by it, and my partner has to know when a joke is a joke and when an insult is an insult. And the truth of the matter is, if I'm in a committed relationship with you, I respect you enough to offer you all of this time and for us to negotiate on certain things, and it's because I really like you, and I wouldn't disrespect you in that way, and I would mean nothing as an insult. Truly, sincerely. When I make a joke, it's just a joke. Even if there's some truth underlying it, I never have malicious intent when I joke around. So anyway, has to enjoy my humor. 19. No dogs. Look, I'm not a fucking dog person. I'm more of a cat person, but I'm kind of a non-pet person. I have this theory that pet preference is at least as good of an indicator of relationship compatibility as any personality trait. There haven't been any legitimate studies done on this as far as I know, but I would put a lot of money on it that there are correlations between pet preference, whether you're dog person, cat person, pet person, not pet person, and certain personality traits, and those things have deep implications on whether a relationship will be compatible. For example, I would put a lot of money on the idea that dog people tend to be extroverted and cat people tend to be introverted. That pet people in general tend to be more agreeable personality-wise, and that non-pet people tend to be less agreeable personality-wise, because more agreeable people tend to be nurturers and tend to like cute things and stand up for victims and underprivileged, which obviously pets are. Well, some lap dogs are pretty privileged. But anyway, I would say that pet preference really matters in general, and it definitely matters to me. Look, I'm friends with plenty of dog people, but we know our limits. I wouldn't cohabitate with them. I wouldn't live with a dog, and I wouldn't be with someone who is strictly a dog person. They'd probably be too extroverted for me, too agreeable for me. I definitely wouldn't be with someone who's a general pet person who wants a lot of pets. Way too agreeable, way too nurturing, not aggressive enough, too sensitive, takes offense to things, and would not, in turn, not be okay with my humor. In general, look, there might be exceptions to the rule. I'm tossing speculative ideas around, but I think there's some truth to this. Anyway, pet preference and compatibility. I could explore this more in another video if y'all want. Let me know. I have a lot more ideas on this theory. 20, last one, spiritual maturity. This is a big one. It's kind of hard to explain and talk about. It's strange. This is kind of a soulmate criteria thing. And by spiritual maturity, soulmate criteria, I mean someone who is aware of and can manage their flaws and vices. Someone who is aware of their shadow personality, of the ways in which their unconscious mind manifests in the world and affects their progression through life, affects the other people around them, and they're aware of that to a point where they can have a grasp on it and take control over it. This is kind of related to something I said, I think in the last video about or a couple of videos ago, about a woman being aware of her mood swings and her emotional state and not letting that affect people too much. This is more on a general spiritual level. You can have vices and flaws that are not founded in pure emotion, but are founded in how you react to things unconsciously. And so spiritual maturity involves being aware of those things, being able to manage them, and having a good, strong moral backbone. That is sexy to me. Let's see. So this also means on an intellectual level, when it comes to discussing things like spirituality, religion, science, things that seem to be in conflict with one another, I'd prefer someone who is neither a religious fanatic nor a militant atheist, because I think taking either of those two sides disregards certain realities and certain truths about what spirituality actually is and what its uses are and why it's necessary for everyone to live a fulfilling life. Atheists don't get it. Crazy religious people don't get it. If you're too far on one end of the spectrum or the other, then that shows me a lack of spiritual maturity, and that is not sexy. So Those are points 16 to 20 of 35. I think this episode was probably very dense, and there's a lot more I could say probably about all of these topics. Let me know if you'd like to hear any of that. I'd love to do that. Just have a problem with prioritizing and structuring things sometimes. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed the series so far. Stay tuned to 21 through 25, which is mainly going to revolve around sexual stuff and subjective stuff. It's going to be probably more funny than informative. So stay tuned. You guys have a nice day. Cheers.